Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire, sitting in for David Pakman today. We had a pretty busy Monday, obviously. Lots of bad news coming out for Donald Trump, and lots of things Donald Trump did that he thought were going to make his life so much easier, but in fact, they're really just going to make it a living nightmare. And one of those things was that the DOJ ordered former White House counsel Don McGahn to not comply with a congressional subpoena. Then Don McGahn, through his attorneys, made it clear to Congress that he was not going to be showing up today, Tuesday, for the hearing that they wanted to have. He wasn't going to give his testimony because the DOJ told him not to comply. That is called obstruction, folks. You can't do that. You're suborning that. That's exactly what just happened with Don McGahn. Democrats obviously want the opportunity to speak to Don McGahn because, according to the Mueller report, McGahn played a central role in telling Mueller and the investigators about potential obstruction of justice on behalf of the President of the United States. This is obstruction that McGahn claims Donald Trump committed or was involved directly in. So Democrats rightfully want to know more. They need some more answers on this. They need to see if there was intent to obstruct justice, because if there was, then they absolutely 100% could move forward with articles of impeachment against the president based on obstruction of justice. Now, don't get me wrong. They're already sitting on a plethora of information on which they could impeach the president, but they want more. They want to make it foolproof. They want to hit him with all of the charges that they possibly could, which is completely unnecessary. You look at the poll numbers right now, a majority of people do think that the Mueller report made Trump look worse, made it seem like he did commit some kind of crime. That crime is likely obstruction of justice. Don McGahn got subpoenaed. He is still also a lawyer with the Jones Day law firm, so it would be interesting to know what Jones Day has to say about one of their own lawyers disregarding a subpoena, thinking that they are above the law. You can't ignore a subpoena, folks. I mean, let's get that out of the way right now. If you get subpoenaed, you are legally obligated to show up. And the House of Representatives does have a mechanism to force this. They subpoenaed McGahn. He said, I'm not showing up. They can send the sergeant at arms to go and arrest him, throw him in the little bitty jail that they have right there at the House of Representatives until he agrees to testify. They have the authority and the power to do that, but they're not going to. And that's the most disappointing thing out of all of this, is that they're not going to. They're just going to set up yet another legal battle against the president. The Democrats are likely going to win, just like they're winning the other ones. But time's a factor, right? I mean, they've got, 18 months? 18 months before the election. And if they lose their majority in that election, it's not likely, but it is possible, obviously, then suddenly any talk of impeachment is out the window. It will never happen at that point. So, rather than having to send this to court, get the courts to enforce it, they'll side with the Democrats, then the president appeals and appeals until he gets all the way to the Supreme Court. That could take more than 18 months. And I know, based on some of the other cases that we have already seen, the judges typically do expedite these, but we can't guarantee something like that would happen every single time, especially when you have a White House filing a lawsuit or Democrats filing a lawsuit at every possible opportunity. Use the mechanisms you have in place, throw McGahn in your tiny little jail, and wait for him to start singing. Because McGahn's made it clear he actually did want to testify, but he's kind of between a rock and a hard place. He thinks that it's best to listen to the president rather than listening to Congress. He seems to forget that at the end of the day, Congress has just as much, if not more, in this particular situation, power than the president does. And they can make his life hell if they choose to do so. And I think at this point, it's time for them to choose to do so. Not just because of McGahn's testimony either, but to send a message. It's time to tell this White House that you are not above the law, that your administration officials are not above the law, and that when this branch of the government that has the responsibility of oversight of the executive branch comes calling, you have to pick up the phone. You don't have a choice. Unfortunately, leadership in the House of Representatives right now is at least giving the appearance of being exceptionally weak. Not saying they are exactly weak, but by not impeaching, they're coming across as weak. They may have some kind of grand strategy that we don't know about. They may be playing a longer game. They may have an ace up their sleeves that we don't even know exists. But by not knowing those things, it makes them look weak. It makes them look like they're afraid. I mean, we've heard them say that, oh, the public doesn't support impeachment. Who cares? The public didn't support bailing out the big banks, but you did that anyway. The public didn't support the Republican tax scam, but they did that anyway. The public didn't support the Republicans' health care plan 2 years ago, but they tried to do that anyway. Since when does public opinion actually weigh on the minds of members of Congress? You guys every day do stuff that the public says, that's a bad idea, we want this instead. You never listen to them, and then on this one issue where you shouldn't listen to them, you're using the public as an excuse to not go forward with it. Just do it. Just do it. That's it. There's no questioning this. There's no being mealy-mouthed. There's no being wishy-washy. This needs to happen. Not just to get McGahn's testimony, but to restore some sense of order and accountability to Congress.
One of today's sponsors is Impeach the Card Slap Game. You can't slap Donald Trump in real life, but you can slap him in this hilarious, fast-paced two-player card game. And you can get it for 10% off when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach. Impeach the Card Game is awesome for parties or when you're having a few drinks. I've been playing it with some friends of mine. It combines clever satire about the Trump administration with really funny, high-quality cartoon artwork, all in a very lively card game that's easy to learn, but it stays interesting every time you play it because of how well designed it is and how much thought went into the humor and the political commentary. Impeach the Card Slap Game is perfect if you're looking for something fun and casual to do with your politically minded friends or family members. It'll make a perfect gift for anyone you know who has a sense of humor about Donald Trump. Don't forget that Father's Day is coming up. And when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach, not only will you get 10% off the game, you can also get 10% off all of the other hilarious clothing and accessories in their online store. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags featuring funny political cartoons about Trump that you can't find anywhere else. Get a super fun, witty gift for yourself or someone you know, whether it's Impeach the Card Slap Game or anything else in the gift shop, and get 10% off all of it when you go to davidpakman.com/impeach.